Quick, baby's yellow. What do? So bright. Many people in the world think sunlight and immediately think vitamin D, which good for you. They also think tanning, which whatever floats your boat. I want you to think of jaundice. If a newborn baby has jaundice, first line is bake a baby in the sun. Incredible. Put your baby in a window like a little cute loaf of bread. But do you actually know how this works? If you think about it, probably not. You see products of this every single day, but you probably don't even know that you're seeing it. At least you should be seeing it. If you don't see it, then you have issues. You'll know what I mean by the end of the video. And what does this reveal about the hidden engineering of your body? I'm Dr. Grant Tekell. I am a family medicine resident, and I also graduated with a mechanical engineering degree. So that means that I love design, fascinated by the human body, love to treat the human body, love to talk with people, etc. So let's talk about your hidden engineering and your baby's hidden engineering, and what jaundice is, what bilirubin is, why we bake babies in the sun. First, we need to lay some groundwork. We'll keep it brief here. Let me get my whiteboard. Section 1 of 3. What is bilirubin? To understand this, we need to start with the red blood cells. Your red blood cell has a lifespan of about 120 days. When it gets eaten by macrophages in the reticuloendothelial. Wow, why can't I say it? Reticuloendothelial system. Rest in peace. Because it's old and it's done its due diligence. It's squeezed through all those capillaries so many times and it said, I'm over this. Take me now. A macrophage that's in your spleen, your liver, or even your bone marrow will bite up that red blood cell. It'll split the hemoglobin into heme and globin. So let's talk about that. Hemoglobin is what your oxygen is transported in. The majority of hemoglobin is 2 alpha, 2 beta units, and so that gets split up into heme and globin. And the heme has iron and a protoporphyrin ring. From here, our focus is on this guy, the protoporphyrin ring. It is converted into biliverdin. Now, if anybody here is bilingual, you might have some alarms going off like, verdin, I understand this. Foreshadowing. And then biliverdin is converted into bilirubin by an easy enzyme, biliverdin reductase. Check it. The interesting thing about bilirubin is that it hates water. It says, I despise you, water. Or it's afraid of water. I fear you, water. It's like whenever you mix oil and water, they don't mix unless you have something that helps it out. You have all of this bilirubin that's hanging around. It needs to get back to the liver so that our body can excrete it properly. So this is where our friendly taxi, albumin, comes into play. So now you've got your bilirubin hitching a ride on the albumin to go back to the factory to take care of business. Once it reaches the liver, the bilirubin that's on the albumin says, thank you very much, pays the albumin skedaddles, and then bilirubin is in the liver hanging out, and it gets conjugated, which just means that it has something added to it to make it water soluble so that we can get rid of it, because the liver also does not like the bilirubin. Nobody likes bilirubin, unfortunately, for the bilirubin. So in the liver, your liver cells called hepatocytes have an enzyme called UDP glucuronidosyltransferase. It's a cool thing you can memorize if you want to wow your doctor. Most doctors would probably say, wow, I haven't heard of that enzyme since medical school. This enzyme adds exactly what it says, glucuronic acid, to bilirubin, making it conjugated. From the liver, you have conjugated bilirubin that's sent out into the bile. And interesting enough, once it's sent out into the bile, it goes into the intestines, and then in the intestines, the body's like, nah, let's change it back. And so it goes right back to bilirubin. Once bilirubin is in your intestines, it actually contributes to the color of your poop and your pee. So now you can tell your friends and family where your poop and pee color comes from. And that's the high quality content that we provide here on this channel. It's actually the bacteria in your intestines that convert the conjugated bilirubin into unconjugated bilirubin, and then the unconjugated bilirubin is converted by the bacteria again into what's called urobilinogen. If you think of uro, what do you think of? Exactly. Uro, think of stuff going on with the urine. Ureter, urethra, urobilinogen. This urobilinogen is then excreted as stercobilin, and that's what gives your poop the brown color. Cool. So really, the brown color in your poop originates from your blood. But then also, some of that urobilinogen is reabsorbed by your intestines, goes into your blood, and then is changed into urobilin, which makes your pee yellow. Voila! Some of the urobilinogen also goes back to the liver, and then it's just a repeating cycle. Here's the final cycle. 80 to 90% of that urobilinogen is stercobilin, and then that makes your poop brown. But then about 10 to 20% of that is going to be reabsorbed as urobilinogen. And that is some sweet engineering. I mean, your body has a waste product and it gets rid of it. That's engineering. I mean, there's a lot of thought that goes into the waste system that we engineer. Same thing with our body. It's very effective. But what happens if this elegant recycling system is not fully developed yet? That's what we see with newborns. You've got a mountain of trash, but you don't have anybody to label where that trash needs to go yet. That goes to section 2. In newborns, their red blood cells break down way faster than adults' red blood cells break down. Also, their livers are immature. And that enzyme that we were talking about earlier, UDP glucuronosyl transferase, is not mature like it is in adults. The result? Unconjugated bilirubin that's not able to be transported properly. So it starts to build up in the eyes, in the skin, and even under the tongue. And what to look out for is kernicterus. Kernicterus is whenever bilirubin climbs way too high. And like we talked about earlier, bilirubin is fat soluble, so it crosses the blood-brain barrier at levels that are too extreme for the blood-brain barrier to handle properly. And this can be toxic to babies' brains. It's whenever bilirubin gets very high that this is a concern. So now we have the stage set. We know how the system works. We know that babies don't have this enzyme that's working as much as adults would. And so we know that they have a little bit of backup in that yellow trash. Here's the twist. Point number 3. There's a beautiful backup plan for these babies that's almost too simple to be true, but it works. Interesting history lesson on this point. In the 1950s, nurses in Essex, England, noticed that jaundiced babies that were placed next to windows appeared to be healing a lot faster than the other babies who were in the dark parts of the room. So sunlight was adopted as standard treatment for neonatal jaundice, or hyperbilirubinemia. That means hyper high bilirubin. We've already talked about bilirubin. We know what that is. We know where it comes from. We know everything about bilirubin. You're not tricking us, bilirubin. Emia in your blood. Hyperbilirubinemia. And that's what causes jaundice. Now, what's the mechanism? What's the engineering behind all of this? Bilirubin. And then you have your son. So, like we were talking about earlier, bilirubin is water insoluble or hydrophobic. You give it some light, it turns into, this is genius, lumilirubin. And lumilirubin is water soluble. So that means lumilirubin can go around in your blood and it's fine and dandy, and baby can pee out the lumilirubin or poop out the lumilirubin because it doesn't need to hitch a ride on albumin like we were talking about earlier for bilirubin. Ta-da! You might be saying to yourself, if my pediatrician is telling me that my baby needs light therapy, then does that mean that I can use maybe that infrared light that I use for my face to prevent wrinkles because it helps with collagen and all that jazz? No. This light for the bilirubin to lumilirubin, this is in the blue-green light range, so like 460 to 490 nanometers. If I had my colorful markers, I would just make this blue and green, but I don't yet. They're coming in the mail. 460 to 490. So this process is called photoisomerization. Isomer meaning the same compound, just a different structure. So it's got all of the same atoms, but it just flips it. So instead of being like this, it's like, whoop. And now it's like this. And then it can hang out in water. Isn't that incredible? Also, a really important point to know. If you have jaundice and you're an adult, go to the doctor. If you're a newborn and you have jaundice, I'm impressed that you can understand what I'm saying right now. If you're a parent who has a newborn who has jaundice, go to the doctor. And then if the doctor says light therapy is okay, then, do whatever they say. Because they know what's going on. They know the clinical scenario. They know if there needs to be steps that are escalated. This is not medical advice on my part. I'm just telling you the mechanism so you can understand the engineering in your body a little bit better and maybe understand what's going on whenever you go to the doctor. And they're like, oh yeah, they have jaundice. And you're like, yay. And you're like, wait, what's jaundice? I know it's yellow, but why jaundice? Why yellow? What's this mean? Why are we here? So if you want to have some tantalizing dinner conversation, go ahead and just throw out all of these words and then let them know what you learned. Protoporphyrin to biliverdin to bilirubin to urobilinogen, stercobilin, urobilin, bilirubin to lumilirubin. Just know, through isomerization, light becomes medicine. You know what that reminds me of? Bruises. I'm so glad I went through all of those words. Whenever you get a bruise, guess what happens? You have blood that goes out into that area, and then if it's really bright red, that means the oxygen's still attached. If it's like more purple, that means that it's just deoxygenated. From there, what colors show up? Probably this color and probably this color. What were we just talking about? Bilirubin, green. Bilirubin, yellow. So Grant, are you telling me that biliverdin and bilirubin are what makes my bruise change all of those colors? That looks like a rainbow? That's exactly what I'm telling you. It's like a normal bruise progression would be bright red, purple, green, yellow, and then actually at the tail end, it would be orange, brownish, and that's not bilirubin or biliverdin. I know, the superstars of this video. That's hemosiderin from macrophages eating up all of that iron from that release of the hemoglobin and then storing it as hemosiderin. So that's hemosiderin. And actually in a bruise, that's normal, but you could have colors show up at any time. I'm showing you like this, like I actually have a bruise. Imagination. Well, you know another thing about bruises? They hurt. You press ouch. You know what else is an ouch? Liking all of this content, yet not subscribing. So go ahead and subscribe. Now you know, one molecule, protoporphyrin, and its many isomers explain so much of the fun colorations of your body, and you can share that at the dinner table. Palpate that like button, and remember, you're cool. Peace.